Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 25 of What If Kaguya Was Naruto's mother. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune because after this I'm going to be posting What If Naruto was from the two greatest clans. So stay in tune for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And over on Anime King 2, I post a new episode of What If Orochimaru Was Naruto's father, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And later on, I'm going to be posting a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a God Amongst Men, so stay in tune for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support guys, and yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their
So, the last time we left off, Naruto didn't want to go to the party, as Hinata, it was her third birthday party, as Minato was wanting Naruto to come there as an extra security, seeing that Kumo ninjas are coming to Konoha to sign a treaty between them. Well, it's not a treaty, it's just an argument for them to stop attacking each other, but Minato didn't trust it one bit. So after a while of convincing, Naruto accepted, and he went to the party, but Minato was going to be there late. As Naruto went with Koji and Kushina, as he met, he told me Hinata's mother, and also the clan head, Hayashi Hyuga, as Hayashi asked Naruto if he could be one of the volunteers for the children, as Naruto said sure. As Naruto waited around until Hiruzen arrived, as both him and Hiruzen started to talk, as Hiruzen told him that a number of strong ninjas came from Kumo just to sign one piece of paper. Something was up, as they put restriction on them and told them that they have to leave by tomorrow. But something was up. He, from his years of being a Hokage and his intelligence when it comes to these things, he knew that something was going to happen sooner or later. It was then Naruto's time to watch the children, as it was Shikaku who brought him over there. But because he was talking and walking with Shikaku, Naruto didn't realize that no children were out here, as Shikaku brought him to a place, as Naruto could sense two people on the rooftop, as Shikaku was questioning Naruto, as Naruto was getting pissed most of the time, but he calmed himself, as Shikaku didn't trust Naruto, well, mostly his past, saying that something he did in the past will come back to bite Konoha in the future, as Naruto told him there is nothing for him to worry about. After a heated discussion, Shikaku said that he had to go to the bathroom, as he went off, as he talked about Inoichi and Choza, as the both of them told him that he's going crazy, as he told them that he's still gonna continue his search, but he's going to do it on the down low. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can enter your cosplays and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. When Shikaku finally returned from the bathroom, which was a lie, it was his discussion with Inoichi and Choza. He brought Naruto to the room where the children were. Eventually, Naruto started to hear the voices of the children. As the both of them arrived, Shikaku knocked twice on the door. As Naruto was confused, why didn't they just walk in? His question was answered later when there was a loud shush from the other side, and all the noise in the room went quiet. "Who is it?" said a voice, as that was Koji, as Naruto wondered what he was doing. "It's Jonin, Nara," said Shikaku, playing along with the game that the children were doing. There was the other voice that said Dad, but then there was a loud shush. "Jonin, Nara, why have you come?" Koji said. "I have a very important message for you, Koji-sama," said Shikaku, with amusement in his tone. "It's super important." As they were giggling from the other side, but Koji told them all to shush. "What is this very important message, Nara?" asked Koji. "Your grandfather is here," said Shikaku. "Gigi," said Koji. Hearing that, Naruto played along. Yes, Koji-sama. I have traveled far and wide to meet you. May I come in? As there was a lot of whispers as the children were debating whether or not to open the door. Eventually though, the door opened as Koji was at the front, with a number of children behind him. One looked like Shikaku, another was Hinata, the third was an older Hyuga child. There was a feral looking boy, a blonde girl, and a redhead, chubby children, and two other Uchiha children. Brothers, one of them looked older than the rest by a few years. And other children from various clans and nobles formed behind Koji. Hey Jiji, Koji opened the door wider. You can take it from here, right? Shikaku said. As Naruto gave him a nod. In that case, I'll make my way back to the party, said Shikaku as he headed off. When Naruto entered and settled down to watch the children, he realized that he came into some kind of game they were playing. It was a make-believe game which Hinata was a Hokage, seeing that she was a birthday girl. Everyone else acting as her shinobi and doing what she says. It was really adorable as the children went on missions to fight against monsters at the Hyuga Heiress Order, as they attacked invisible opponents and then sometimes flopping down on the floor as the medics came over and healed them. Almost all of the children participated. Well, a few of the elders declined. Also, the elder Uchiha did as well. As the others sit down and talk. As Naruto just sat down, watching the children. 2 hours later, Naruto arrived back to the party, as most of them had already taken their children home and went off. The moment he entered the room, he saw Minato. It seemed like he was finally done with all of the work that he was doing tonight. As Kushina and Minato were standing there, as Naruto made his way over to them. But before he could reach him, someone called his name from behind. Naruto, as this voice was from Hayashi, if Naruto remembered correctly, that was his name. Naruto, if you'd be willing to join myself and some others, we would like to introduce ourselves and get to know each other. Very well, Naruto said after a moment of thinking. Lead the way, Hayashi. As the both of them walked over to the corner of the room where other people had gathered. They were all seated around the table that had a few seats to spare. As Naruto and Hayashi approached, the others turned and looked at them. As Naruto recognized two people sitting at the table, the first being Shikaku Nara. The other person was Hiruzen, the stupid Sarutobi who got him in this mess in the first place, because he ditched him, as he was holding a drink in one hand and giving Naruto a smile as if he did nothing. Naruto also recognized two people, but not by their appearance, but their chakra. When he had sensed them earlier, both of their chakra signature was linked to something that Naruto can manipulate. One was blonde with blue eyes like Minato, but he had different features and shape of a face. As he had mind chakra, Naruto could tell because he had dabbled in that for some years. The other had long and spiky red hair with purple stripes running from his cheek, and he was larger than the others compared to them. As Naruto sensed his chakra, it held the trained sense of flesh chakra, which one can use to manipulate their body. Naruto, Hayashi spoke, breaking Naruto from his thoughts. I would like to introduce Shibe Aberme, head of the Aberme clan. As Naruto turned to see the man, he was wearing a cloak that was zipped up to his neck. This is Tatsumi Inuzaka, head of the Inuzaka clan. Hayashi pointed to a feral looking woman with markings on her cheek. By her side, Naruto noticed a crossbreed between a dog and a wolf wearing an eye patch. This is Choji Akamishi, head of the Akamishi clan. This was the red-headed man from earlier. Now, Naruto had a name for a face. This is Shikaku Nara, the head of the Nara clan. This is Inoichi Yamanaka, the head of the Yamanaka clan. And Fukaku Uchiha, head of the Uchiha clan. As Naruto heard disdain when Hayashi spoke the Uchiha's name. Naruto also knew that name, but he couldn't remember where he heard it from. And I believe that you're already acquainted with Hiruzen Sarutobi. We've met, said Naruto as he sat down next to Hiruzen, as Hayashi sat next to Naruto with Fukaku on his other side. As Naruto, with a swift movement, struck Hiruzen in his arm, as Hiruzen turned and looked at him. For ditching you, Hiruzen said, as Naruto simply narrowed his eyes. You know, Hayashi, you never had to introduce us with the clan titles. That just wasted time, said Shikaku. Naruto had no knowledge of any of you. I felt that introducing you all with the titles would make a better impression. as Naruto wanted to know why did they brought him over here, as Hayashi must want him here for a reason. He wouldn't bring him over here for just talking. He must want to know something. I believe that Naruto was brought here for a reason, said Shibe. As Naruto looked at him, it seemed like this guy was thinking what he was. It would be best if we did not waste his time with useless talk. I concur, Shibe. As he then turned to Naruto. As Hayashi looked at him, we brought you here, Naruto, despite being the newest clan head of Konoha. None of us have, but he was cut off. As Naruto raised his hand for Hayashi to stop talking. I am not part of any clan in Konoha, so if this is what you wish to speak about, you have wasted your time. If that was all he said as he started to get up, Naruto, Hiruzen said, as Naruto looked at him. As soon as Koshi was born, both yourself, Minato, and Kushina and Koshi all formed a clan. There is a definition in Konoha that defined a clan, especially bloodline clans, as a family with a refining trait that has shown to be recurring. And I'm guessing that swift release is that trait, Naruto said, as he sat back down, as he wondered why Minato did not tell him about this, as Hiruzen could sense the question, because, as the majority of your clan are shinobi, Koji not being counted amongst yourself, Minato and Kushina, your clan is a shinobi clan. There is matters that you will be needing to take care of, an extra tax, delegating part of your clan members' pay to the clan itself, so forth. With Minato being Hokage, your clan is granted an automatic seat on the council, meaning that under any normal circumstances, you would need to attend meeting and discuss certain matters. However, you aren't a shinobi, Naruto, and while you are the head of your clan, you cannot involve yourself in shinobi matters. This responsibility goes to the closest shinobi, that being Minato. Minato has been taking care of the matters that involve shinobi for some time now, said Hiruzen. That still didn't tell Naruto anything that he wanted to know. Why didn't Minato tell him? He will hold himself for tonight. He can ask him that tomorrow. Very well then. What do you want to know? Naruto asks. Could you perhaps tell us where Minato was born? Shibe asks. Taki no Kuni, Naruto said. His mom was from Yu no Kuni. And you yourself, Naruto? Asks Hayashi. Kaminaru Kuni, Naruto said. That is where the monastery was located. And his mother never told him where she actually came from. As a flash of suspicion flashed into the members sitting around the table eyes, only Hiruzen and to his surprise Shikaku did not show that flash. The Aburame might not have, but with the glasses he wore, it was impossible to tell. As now most of them thought that he worked for Kumo, seeing that the monastery was in the lightning country. And if he was working for the Raikage, if the Raikage had his strength, he could have just used him to conquer each and every country. There wouldn't be any stealth or anything. Even limiting himself to swift release, no one in this village could handle him. Something you wish to share with us, Namikaze? Fukaku asks. Shinobis are truly paranoid people, Naruto said, shaking his head. That paranoia has kept many of us alive, Naruto, the Yamanaka said. And how many friends has it alienated, Naruto said in a response. Not as many as you think, said Shikaku. The word you're missing is yet, Shikaku-san, Naruto said. You seem to believe that 60 years since the founding of Konoha is a long time. It's not that long. Hiruzen has lived through it. Shinobis has been the cause of 3 wars that tear through the continent. Some of them was pushed by paranoia. In another 60 years, how many more wars do you think will happen? 2? Perhaps 3? Naruto shook his head. The point I'm trying to make is that the shinobi culture is still incredibly young and naive. What? Said Tatsumi. I don't see anything wrong with the way I live my life, she said. For several seconds he looked at her with a blank look, as he then sighed, as her frown deepened, seeing that. You got something to say it to my face, she said, as the dog beside her started to growl. My childhood was me playing as a child until my mother reined me in. Your child will learn about the best way to kill someone. As everyone went silent, and Naruto took this as his opportunity to leave, as he didn't want to talk to his people anymore. As he then stood up. If you cannot tell me that there isn't something wrong with that, perhaps you will tell me when you find your child lying in a ditch somewhere. Naruto then stayed behind to see what their reaction would be, as he simply walked away. It didn't take him long to find Minato and Kushina as he walked over to the pair, but yet again he was interrupted. A blur burst through the doors as Naruto snapped his head to the right as he saw it was a Anvu. "Hokage-sama," she said, kneeling in front of Minato. The ninjas from Kumo has moved and attempted to infiltrate Konoha Archive. Two split off from the group and invaded the squad that was following them. Their whereabouts are currently unknown, but we have a team searching for them. "Your orders?" she said. "I want all possible shinobis searching for those final two infiltrators," Minato said, standing up. "Assign another squad to the other 5. Take them down. Do not let them leave the village, but attempt to capture them alive if possible." Minato then turned to Hayashi. "I am sorry, Hayashi, but I must order this celebration to cease." "Of course, Hokage-sama," said Hayashi as he looked towards the other guests. "This party is now over. Thank you all for attending, but I am afraid that I must ask you all to leave. Remember to please collect your children before doing so." Naruto turned to face Minato, but Kushina was right in front of him as she held on to his arm, bringing him towards where the children were. "Kushina," Naruto said, as she looked back and blushed, realizing that she was pulling him, as she released him. "Sorry, Naruto," she apologized. "I have just been feeling on edge since the Kumo shinobis arrived, and this just pushed it even further. I just want to get Koji and go home. I'll feel better then." "There's no need to apologize," Kushina, Naruto said. "I understand. But next time, don't drag me," as Kushina chuckled as the both of them walked off. When they finally reached the room, Naruto noticed that something was wrong. They were about several meters from the door. As Naruto spoke, "Kushina," he said in a low tone, "where are the guards that were posted for the children?" Kushina's face instantly paled. The guards shouldn't have been moved, especially that there was intruders in the village. As Kushina quickly rushed towards the door as she knocked, watching the children earlier on tonight, she knew the game that they were playing. "Koji, it's Mom, can you open the door?" But there was no response. "Koji, this is serious, open the door," Kushina said. As Kushina stepped back as she was about to break the door down. "Stop," Naruto said as he appeared in front of her. "The children are still inside, I can tell that much, but if you kick the door in, you will injure some of them." "Then how are we going to get in?" As Naruto placed his hand on the door handle, the entire door was enveloped in a yellow glow. As Naruto sped up the agent around the door until it got old and crinkled and disintegrated into dust. As Kushina dashed inside, as Naruto looked around, no one was dead, but they were under illusion. "He's not here," Kushina said. "He's not here!" As she spun around, her movements and voice, as Naruto could see the panic ringing in her. This was a living nightmare ringing into her. "Naruto, they took Koji," she said. That explained the illusion. It was most likely done to make the kidnapping easier. "I'll find him," Kushina said. "Naruto, tell Minato what happened." Okay, just bring him back, Naruto," she said. As Naruto nodded, as Kushina raced back to the room, as Naruto expanded his senses. There was no way the kidnappers could have gotten that far already, as his senses spread out to cover the entire Konoha. As Naruto was searching for the chakra signature that was leaving the village while everyone else was going towards the village center. It didn't take him long to find one. It was attempting to scale the Hokage's monument as Naruto vanished in a blur. The kidnapper was making his way, crawling over the Hokage's monument when something sharp slammed into his back. As it was due to his training that he didn't scream out in pain, as he was then thrust down into the ground, as Naruto now had a big sack in his arm. Looking inside the sack, Naruto saw the face of the Hyuga heiress with a gag in her mouth and her feet and her hands tied together. As she started to wake up, as she opened her eyes as tears were streaming down her face. Waking up in such a state must be a shock to the girl. As Naruto turned his gaze to the kidnapper, "Where is your friend? You only get one chance to give me a response." But the man didn't say anything, as he just narrowed his eyes at Naruto, analyzing Naruto. The man quickly jumped off of the monument as he extended his arm, and fabric appeared underneath his arms, going out, as he was like sailing like those flying squirrels, as he could fly over Konoha Wall, and no one would spot him in the dead night. Naruto sighed as he couldn't leave the girl here, and he couldn't let the kidnapper out of his sight. It would seem that he had to compromise. as he reached into the sack and removed her bindings as she immediately clung to him, recognizing his face from earlier. As Naruto whispered, "Close your eyes and hold on tight," he said. The only thing she said, "I want mom, I want mom." As Naruto then turned towards the kidnapper, the ground underneath his feet then started to break as he jumped off with such pressure that there was a large crater left behind. As Naruto tightened the grip on Hinata in his arms, as the glider had turned his body, as Naruto turned his body in mid-air as well. As Naruto gathered his chakra and formed a small cocoon around Hinata to protect her from the backlash of the speed. As Naruto pushed off, as there was a boom in the air, as a yellow chakra was around him, as Konoha, barrier team, their sensors was on haywires, as the explosion from the force that Naruto pushed off with was messing with the barrier a lot. As Naruto grabbed the kidnapper in mid-air, he was beyond shock as Naruto started to speak so casually. "We currently have 20 seconds before we hit the ground. Whether or not you tell me where the other one is, it will decide your fate. 16 seconds. The kidnapper said nothing but his eyes widened. 14 seconds. "Where is your friend?" Naruto said. "You do know that this height and the speed we're going at, it will take half a day to clean you off, and it will be like you never existed." 6, Naruto said. As the kidnapper realized a few things, his companion, if they stick to the plan, he should be long gone by now. The second that, with the peace treaty signed, he will be handed over to Kumo as per one of the clause, to be treated by Kumo laws. And the third was, he didn't want to die, not like this. "We were going to link up northeast from here, near a river. I said it, no, stop us from falling." Naruto quickly knocked the man out as he was holding him under his arm, as Naruto then pushed up, as there was another booming surface, as he lessened the speed, as he then landed gracefully. As Naruto landed and checked on the Hyuga girl to see that she was passed out. He couldn't afford to dwell on that though, as Koji was still missing and he needed to find the second kidnapper. Before that, he needed to drop her off, as well as the kidnapper. It only took him a second to blink out of existence using swift release and arrive at the Hyuga compound. When Naruto arrived, he saw both Kushina and her Hyuga friend Hitomi. As Kushina was consoling her friend, the Hyuga must have noticed her child missing when she arrived. Because of the way swift release worked, there was no rush of air when Naruto entered the room. He was just not there a second, and then there the next second. "Naruto," Kushina said, snapping her from her thoughts, as he dropped the body of the kidnapper on the floor, as both women were now looking up at him. "Can I assume that you'll be able to hold him?" Naruto said, pointing to the kidnapper. Kushina nodded as she noticed a small figure in his arm, as she started to step forward. But she then noticed a hair, as her hope was gone. As Hitomi noticed it, as she rushed forward, crying out her daughter's name, Hinata, as she held her close, crying the entire time. As Naruto turned to the grieving Kushina, "I interrogated the kidnapper. I will find him soon, don't worry," he said. And with that, he blinked away. As Naruto was now in the forest, he already spread out his senses and found the last kidnapper, with a dozen Konoha shinobis a few meters away from him. But Naruto was currently in swift release, so the entire place was moving slow. No birds made a sound, no breeze. Everything was just still except for Naruto. As there was many traps, but Naruto simply walked through all of them. When he break them or something, they would just freeze in mid-air. As Naruto saw the kidnapper, who was also frozen, with a bundle strapped to his back. As Naruto quickly went over and enveloped Koji in an aura before he undid the straps. As Naruto unwrapped it as he saw Koji, he was unconscious. The only thing he had was a bruise on his forehead. That only left what to do with the kidnapper, as Naruto raised his feet and slammed it right into the kidnapper's knee as it was a snapping sound, but the man still didn't move. Naruto then released, swift release, and the world returned back to normal. The kidnapper instantly cried out in pain as his leg was ripped off. Seeing that Naruto was moving at such speed and he was still, and Naruto put power behind that kick, his entire leg was ripped off at the knee. As all explosion and everything went off behind Naruto, from the tripwires and everything, the explosive tags that he walked through. as Koji was still unconscious. As Naruto stepped forward, before the kidnapper could say anything, Naruto kicked him right in the face as he fell unconscious. As Naruto found a squad several seconds away from him, as he didn't want to pick up this bleeding man. As Naruto started to walk back to Konoha, as he didn't vanish, seeing that he wanted to make sure that the Konoha ninjas realized that Koji was in safe hands. As the group of Anvu dropped from the treetops, Naruto-san, one of the Anvu, spoke. "I will take my grandson to his parents," Naruto said, as he motioned to the kidnapper. "Could you please?" As Naruto activated Swift Release, as everyone froze. For Naruto, the trip back to Konoha took 30 minutes, as he healed the bruise on Koji's head, but for everyone else, it was like a second. When Naruto reappeared in the room, Kushina and Hitomi were still there, as Kushina snapped up her head as she quickly rushed towards Naruto. As Naruto held out Koji and nearly had his arms ripped off by Kushina when she grabbed for him. As she checked over Koji, as she then pulled him tightly to her and wrapped her arms around him, hugging him while crying at the same time. As when Kushina held him, Koji started to slowly open his eyes. "Mom?" he said. "Yes, Koji," said Kushina. "I had a strange dream," Koji said. "It's okay, baby. Your mom is here now. Go back to sleep," as Koji simply nodded and went back to sleep. As Naruto saw a determined look in Kushina's eyes, a look to say that she will never allow her son to be taken away from her again. "Time skip. You know why I'm here, Minato," Naruto said, as he entered his son's office after a few days of what they are now calling the Kumo incident. "So, I appreciate it if we skip the part where I ask you why those shinobi attempted to kidnap my grandson, and you just tell me," Naruto said. Minato chuckled at his father's blunt tone as Naruto then sat down, as Minato turned serious. "This attempt by Kumo should have never happened," said Minato. "Of course it shouldn't have, but some people are willing to go beyond the limits to get what they want. But what I want to know, why did they go after Koshi and the Hyuga girl?" "Well, I also like to thank you for saving Koshi and Hinata, Dad," Minato said with a smile on his face. Naruto merely waved off the thanks. To begin, this whole thing was response for an attack on Kumo a month ago. It is the reason they went into lockdown. According to Jiraiya Sensei, his spy network only got word to him several days ago, and not seeing anything happen and nothing going on in the stone, he decided to take his personal time coming to Konoha to deliver it. As Minato sighed and ran a hand through his hair, Jiraiya sure picked his timing, he said. Now the attack was done on Kumo by two missing nin, Kakazu, a man that has 5 hearts, and another S-rank missing nin known as Sasori. "Minato, those names don't mean anything to me, or the rank," said Naruto with an annoying tone. "Don't pause and wait for me to gasp at someone's name, because I don't even know who those guys are." As Minato blushed in embarrassment as he realized his father was right. He didn't really know them, and titles would not matter to him, seeing that he never saw his father gasp beyond someone's strength yet. Kakazu was a bounty hunter and a missing nin, who was originally from Taki, one of our allies. But he switched and he gained some immortality due to a forbidden jutsu that allows him to take others' hearts and use them as his own. The other is Sasori, a former ninja of the Sand Village. Another ally of Konoha and a master puppeteer, supposedly can control over 100 puppets at a time. For an unknown reason, the two attack Kumo Jinjulki, a man known as Killer Bee, in broad daylight. As Naruto's eyes narrowed at that news, obviously he was going to free this Biju that this Killer Bee held, but he needed to get some more information, a physical description or defining trait. But he couldn't just do that. If he took interest in this man, and then a couple days later Minato found out that he was dead, Minato would definitely put 2 and 2 together. He would have to search for this Killer Bee while he's in Kumo. He was already going there to talk to this Raikage. What would a bit more extra time will do? As Minato spoke again, Kumo firstly decided to raid Take archive, thinking that they were the one who hired Kakazu to capture the Biju, the Hakusebi, or that perhaps he was still secretly a part of their village. As Naruto sighed, if the Biju he was freeing was a Hakusebi, then this wouldn't be so easy. Consider his relationship with all of the Biju. His relationship with the A-Tails was the worst. The A-Tails held Hagurumo's death against Naruto, believing that there was something Naruto could do to prevent that death. It was something that forbade Naruto from forming any bond with the A-Tails. While he fully believed that the A-Tails would be happy to be free, he knew that the A-Tails wouldn't make it be easy. As Minato spoke again, when they found nothing, they quickly turned to Konoha, seeing that both San and Taki are in alliance with us. They went with this ruse of a treaty to go through our own archives, as Minato lifted up a scroll and placed it on top of his decks. The worst part is that this treaty is legitimate, as Minato scowled at the scroll and that we have to deliver the shinobi responsible for this mess back to their village for judgment. Minato scowled, knowing that the punishment would be for not completing the mission, not for the treason itself. Why not simply say that they were killed? If they believe their shinobi is dead, there is no reason for them to request their return. Minato blinked at his father's rather cold-hearted comment before moving on. He has proven that he cared little for those who harmed his family, seeing how he dispatched Koji kidnapper. The man was in a coma from blood loss that he hasn't come out from, and his leg was also mangled beyond disbelief, as the surgeons had to cut it more to turn it into a stump. Whatever Naruto did, it destroyed the man's legs completely. It wouldn't work, said Minato. They would ask for the body. While we could create a fake body, it will take too long. Saying that all the bodies were destroyed as well, that wouldn't do better either, because that would raise warnings. Kumo knew that their ninja was in the village, and the only way for their bodies to be disintegrated was for them to hit by a high-ranking jutsu. That Kumo knew that we won't just throw around within our own village. If they were here for Konoha archive, why did they kidnap Koji and his friend, Naruto asked. Because Jiraiya had no knowledge on the kidnapper's attempt, the only information we can get is from the kidnappers themselves. The one that you brought back was quite shaken, and it was easy for us to get information. And Naruto asked. Apparently, Minato said, as his face twisted in anger. The obtainment by Koji was of chance. Their real goal was Hinata. They only took him after they realized who he was. Kumo was after the Byakugan. Many nations has been after the Dojutsu for a long time. The Uchihas and the Hyugas are on top of that list. For a village like Kumo who is lacking in the area of Kekigenkai, they would be an ultimate prize. How did they gain access to the Hyuga compound without arousing the guards or getting spotted, Naruto asked. That was something he did not understand. Despite his dislike of them, they had powerful visual jutsus, and that made it nearly impossible for someone to sneak up on the user. As Minato reached down and picked up a weapon, Naruto saw that before, in the land of Sky. For a split second, Naruto's expression darkened as he remembered that nation and what they called him. This is a kunai launcher, Minato said, breaking Naruto from his thoughts. A handheld device that launched kunais at incredible speeds. We found two sealing the scrolls attached to the kidnappers. It could be used to launch kunai outside of a Byakugan, use of vision, and used for surprise, perfect for infiltration. Naruto just nodded, realizing where his son was going with this. How has Koji handled everything? Naruto asked. You haven't been to see Kushina and Koji while I was working? Asked Minato. I had hoped that you were spending more time with your son, making sure that he had recovered completely, and that my presence wouldn't be needed. You did make sure that Koji was fine, didn't you? Naruto asked. As Minato released a tired sigh. After that night, and they put him to sleep, the next morning, the both of them were awakened by Koji screaming as they thought he was another kidnapper and they burst towards his room. A few seconds behind the Anvu guards. Thankfully, it wasn't a kidnapping. Koji was experiencing a nightmare. As Koji slept between the both of them that night, as he didn't want to let them go, he was scared. It happened again yesterday, and Minato felt like it was going to happen tonight again. He's having nightmares, Dad, said Minato, and he's having trouble sleeping. What do I do, said Minato as he rubbed his forehead. I've only seen him go through this twice, and I can't afford to watch Koji suffer like this. This mental trauma, he said. Be there for him, Minato. Spend more time with him. Take him out to the park. Play a game with him. Get him a pet. While Koji might not realize this, you will be showing him that that experience is over. It may take a while, but eventually he will move on. So, there is nothing you can do. Could you try using that mind release that you use on me to suppress Koji's memory of the event? Naruto's eyes widened as he looked around the room, as his senses spread out. There was no guard in the room and the secrecy seal were active. Minato must have planned for this. The event is too big and recent for me to alter it in any way. I would just be damaging Koji's mind. At the moment, his brain is focusing on this memory. Should I remove it, the best case that Koji will have migraines for several days. His brain will try to remember what it had forgotten. The worst case is that he fall into a coma, Naruto said. Minato paled slightly as he quickly pushed that out of his mind. But guys, me end this episode right here. If you want the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notifications stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in social media platform and stay in tune for the rest of the what ifs coming your way. And I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. And remember, thank you all for helping and support. And stay in tune for what if Naruto's from the two greatest clans. And also, what if Naruto was a god amongst man? Stay in tune for those, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them, guys. But for now, I'm out of here. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. Peace.